Hey, you. I wanted to reach out and just talk to you a little bit and give you kind of a pep talk. These night calls are, they're quieter. They're a place where, we can just talk about the things that are really big. And for you, it's the feeling of uncomfortable. And it's funny that we were talking about this because I am sitting in the most uncomfortable chair. Talking to you. I am sitting in the most uncomfortable chair. And I'm up by the North Shore, so I'm on vacay. But writing, which I'm not doing enough of, but I wanted to just take a little break and just kind of unwind that conversation that we had about being uncomfortable. And uncomfortable, one of the things I really like about uncomfortable is because if you unpack it just like a little bit, it will give you its own antidote. Being uncomfortable is actually kind of a generous, wide berth of an emotion because it's kind of a wide berth, it can like slip into other categories like anxiety, self-loathing. Being uncomfortable about something, because it's such a wide spectrum of an emotion, we just sort of push it into whatever cupboard it will go, or it seeps into every cupboard. So when you're thinking about being uncomfortable, one, I'm super glad that you got that. And when you're switching your mindset, you're always going to feel uncomfortable. And you're uncomfortable because comfort has left, right? The part of uncomfortable is the UN part, right? It's uncomfortable. And uncomfortable has a little murky cloud that sort of floats out of it. And for many people, you don't realize that you're just disagreeable because you're uncomfortable, or that you're edgy or harsh, or because you're actually worried. And that worry is making you uncomfortable. When we unpack the word uncomfortable, I remind people that little pokey bit, that feeling of emotionally cramped, or that you are just sometimes overfull. Like sometimes we feel cramped, but we're just too full of stuff. So one of the things that I remind everyone is, gosh, let's dig into uncomfortable. And this is where drawing it is really helpful. Like I love journaling, but sometimes just getting some crayons or some markers and some paper and really starting to understand what is making you feel uncomfortable. And is it that this is actually shame? Is this that it's actually undigested grief? There are so many emotions that we have that are like undigested, unprocessed, because high achievers have this amazing ability. And you might recognize this and you might go, oh, I'm looking in the mirror right now. Because you have such a high capacity as a high performer that it's easy to stuff it. It's easy to just go, oh, that won't restrict me, so I'll just keep going. And then you get a lot of these kind of little slips of paper that are kind of pushed into all the corners, and suddenly there's nowhere to run, and there's no corner to hide in, and it feels miserable and gray. So when you are looking at uncomfortable, I like the idea of sketching it out. I have an old assistant who has just been a dear friend named Kirsten. And Kirsten has another home in Holland. And one of the things that Kirsten and I absolutely love is how many words the Dutch have for clouds. And some of them are friendly clouds. Some of them are sulky clouds. that there are just so many words for clouds, and where she lives, they talk about weather a lot, which happens a lot where I live. So when I think about drawing uncomfortable, I think about, wow, how would the Dutch paint clouds? And if you go back into your art history, you'll see like the Dutch love to paint clouds because the clouds are so amazing there. But uncomfortable, again, it's a little whack. It's a little it's a little murky bit of a cloud that you can't quite name. So when you are kind of looking at that and going, oh, is this a sulky cloud? Am I downcast? Is that why I'm uncomfortable? Am I just feeling heavy-hearted? Is this really that I'm feeling restricted in my choices? Is this that I'm actually grieving that I don't have enough money? Is this really about the fact that, I'm tired of the world having apathy? That there's so many places that high achievers just gloss over. And suddenly all the corners are full with stuff that's been glossed over. And it's time, right? That's the point of this conversation. That's the point of taking a minute and looking at, gosh, maybe I'm a little depressed a little bit. Maybe I'm a little depressed for a long time. Maybe I've been uncomfortable about all of these things in my life for a long time, but I didn't have a solve, or I didn't feel partnered, or I didn't feel like, it just felt like a cluster. I don't know where to start. I can't pull one string. So it's really looking at like, why is it so uncomfortable right now? And that is really looking at all of the other emotions that are attached to uncomfortable. Sometimes when people tell me that they have imposter syndrome, oh, by the way, 70% of high performing females are there. And when we look at imposter syndrome, sometimes it's actually about something else. And sometimes imposter syndrome isn't like I'm the wrong person, but maybe I am feeling in a way that I'm insufficient. And when I kind of feel insufficient, it means that I haven't processed something. And so when you feel insufficient, a little bit miserable, a little bit false, in that kind of uncomfortable, the way to go into that is, again, the thing I love about uncomfortable is it has an antidote. And it has an antidote as soon as you identify the actual place, the actual cloud that's lurking in your sky. And so, right, if I'm feeling a little cramped, I'm going to need some space, right? If I'm feeling a little pokey, I'm going to need some smooth stuff, right? If I'm feeling worried, let's find out what I'm worried about so I can release that worry. And that's really about having assurances, right? When I'm worried, I need assurances. So the beautiful part about uncomfortable, which can also look like anxiety, which can look like all these other things, grief, tension, overworked, uncomfortable is a lot. But it has its own antidote, always, always. Always, 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 always. If I'm wounded, then I need to heal, right? If I'm crabby, well, I need to snap that thing forward and go, oh, what made me uncrabby? Find something joyous to do, right? If I'm crabby, I need to be laughing. So when I'm really feeling tatty or low grade, right, maybe I need to go get my hair done. That I'm not comfortable with looking disheveled. When the way that I kind of talk about it, there's another concept called puttering that I talk about a lot. And I like puttering as a concept of just kind of doing a little thing that makes your little space better. And a lot of times we putter around the house, right? I clean the kitchen, or I'll, fix something. I'll sew my pants or something. That puttering are these little kind of jobs that we do for our own self at no particular pace with no timeline that has to be met, and we do it just because it feels fun. It feels comforting. And the reason I like puttering so much is it helps make unlovely things lovely. And I like that model, right? Because unlovely makes me feel uncomfortable, but lovely things make me feel a lot better. Sometimes that's just me cleaning up my desk. And so sometimes I'll ask myself when I'm feeling uncomfortable or rattled that I go, oh, am I rattled because this is unlovely to me? And I like beautiful, clean spaces. So having a sink full of dishes, yeah, you'll rarely find it in my house for more than 30 minutes because it's unlovely. I don't like it. And it makes me stressed. And it's like a big decision that has to be made. I like having decisions that are made and sufficient. So if you're feeling insufficient, what is sufficient? If you are feeling burdensome, then we have to look at how do we unburden. And that's really the love I have for you, is to, one, know uncomfortable, the most fantastically solvable ship that could float into your marina, because it morphs into everything. When it comes in as a cloud of darkness, it can be any of the ships. So that's a problem. And you have to identify, right, what's uncomfortable. And sometimes what I am kind of shocked by, I'm often wowed by uncomfortable in my own life, because sometimes I realize that I'm uncomfortable about something that isn't even based in reality. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable about a story I made up in my head about a situation that hasn't even happened. That's uncomfortable. And so then I have to kind of go, yeah, you can stop storytelling. And high achievers, people who are brilliant, have a brilliant mind. And people who have a brilliant mind, they make up better stories. So they don't just go, oh, I'm worried about this little thing. No, they're going to just blow it up into this, giant flesh-eating spore that comes out of, their pocket. So you can see how being creative and brilliant can make uncomfortable really unrestricted in how far it can grow. So, if you're feeling distressed, if you're feeling wounded, if you're feeling uncomfortable in whatever way, this is a great time to pull out that packet of pens, of paper, of just going, okay, what are my little dark clouds? And, this is why getting out of your head, this is what it means, right? To take these ideas that you're stuffing inside of you and getting outside of them, putting them on a piece of paper. Get out of your head means they're going to transfer whatever those emotions are that you're stuck on or that are feeling pokey and scratchy, and putting them out on something else. You've seen me talk about it as the dollhouse. You've seen me talk about it in other ways, but you've got to get it out of your head. That's why therapy works, right? Because I'm getting a bunch of stuff out of your head. Or your therapist is getting stuff out of your head. I just get to, enjoy you. I get to just enjoy you. So when you are growing, there's going to be a lot of times that you're going to feel uncomfortable. So you will need a tool. You will need some little ritual that helps you unpack that very clustery, weird word, because sometimes it means something in one way and it means something in another way. So there's no way to just monitor it. You just instantly have the physical reaction of I'm uncomfortable. And that's a real reaction. And that is like every time you are feeling uncomfortable, you should go, oh yeah, thanks. Let me figure that out. I got you. Your parasympathetic system is saying, oop, I'm uncomfortable. And you got to go, oh, let me pay attention to you. What's up? What's up? And when you start asking yourself those questions and really listening, the actual pain of uncomfortable will start to go down because it doesn't have to scream at you all the time. if you actually pay attention to when you're a little bit uncomfortable, when you're a lot uncomfortable, it doesn't scream as loud. And that's kind of the secret of kind of keeping your cool under great duress, is when you unpack the small stuff, when the big stuff comes, it doesn't have to yell at you because you've learned to pay attention to it when it was small stuff. And that is kind of the secret, right? Why do you see me not freaked out all the time? Well, because I'm kind of sweating the small stuff that I'm looking at. When do I feel uncomfortable? And then I'm going to stop right there and just take 10 seconds and go, why am I so uncomfortable right now? And sometimes I'm uncomfortable because my clothes don't fit or my shoes are too tight. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable because I left something undone. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable because I let something unsaid. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable because I said something really stupid. Sometimes I'm uncomfortable because I don't know a way forward. And you're going to have the same list. So if you've been depressed for a little while, thanks for recognizing it. If you are feeling uncomfortable, this is like the best emotion to surf because it is got lots of antidotes. There are lots of ways to change uncomfortable. And as soon as you identify that little murky cloud of what it is, there's an antonym to that. So you just have to really find the descriptor and you will find the antidote. And it is that simple. I mean, like, it is that simple. 1 + 1. It is that simple. If you identify the emotion or the feeling or where it is, it's so easy to fix. And you're a good fixer. You fix a lot of things for other people. Now you get to pay attention to how do you really nurture and dote on you and all the stuff you stuffed because you're in a hurry. You got to go. You got too much going on. I don't have time to process this little bit of minimalist. I don't have time to be, managing that I feel wounded or sour, right? And so you just stuff it. But it didn't mean it went away. And so now I got to unpack that. And you only need about 20 minutes at a time. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, a lot of times, if you just use this little kind of gray cloud method, you'll unpack that thing in under 3 minutes. I mean, it's that fast. It's that good. So there you go. There you go. Sometimes you have a lot of little gray clouds. I'll be interested to find out what you pick. So, hello, good night. Thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for being real. Thank you for speaking out your truth. And really, that's the part I'm the proudest of you for, is being willing to just acknowledge, man, I'm uncomfortable. And that, I think that's pretty spectacular. All right. Well, have a good night. I will see you soon. And,